He drank it himself because it was always gone in the morning.
No, really?
When I was a kid, I was always putting like cookies and milk for Santa Claus. I don't know, like I guess some of my parents were eating them because they were always eating. Like there was nowhere like leftovers. The cookies were always gone. My father was doing it now with the sugar powder.
Your Santa was footsteps, and I saw how footsteps go from like some Christmas tree to the window.
Aww.
Everybody has this one.
We should go to one big t-shirt or something.
I was thinking like, maybe.
Sarah, are you joining?
No.
Okay, I think we are starting, so people assemble. Yes.
Can you see because I'm here?
Can we see because of your incident? We can see.
Still feels like Monday morning. Yeah, while you were there, isolating yourself.
I think last time nobody was eating because it was not standing in front of your face, so I'm gonna fix it. Just put it in front of your face. Should it just like it? Yeah, thanks.
Easy.
Sure. It's probably less
I don't
than
want to be alone. I'm gonna be alone. So they can see me because I'm up there.
Yeah. No, you know what? Actually, because not everybody already did, so I don't know what to expect.
So I think this is it.
I'm gonna take three.
Yeah, it's
Right.
I don't know what I would mixed up.
You ready?
Almost. Unless you people don't.
Showing the rational.
Let's just put it further. You guys want to maybe take food on your side or? Okay, there's extra banana. Just keep pushing it forward. Sorry, yeah?
It's okay. All right. Okay, so welcome everybody to our third, the really most interesting, I think, so far workshop, which is about how to build design systems, because it's such an extensive topic, and I think it's really interesting to see how they function. So, but what we're gonna talk about today? First, we're gonna explain like what is it, so we can have common understanding what is it and why is it, and then we're gonna dive into parts that make it happen, the most important parts. So, what is design system then? What is it? So maybe let's start a bit more, less abstract, more like grounded. So who here likes Lego? Who played with it? Right? Yeah, we all did. We all did at some point, right? And Legos are basically like pieces of design system, but they're just pieces on their own, right? They don't, without certain instructions, we don't know how to use them. But before they were conceived, the Lego was a company making usual toys from wood, metal, typical toys, not really anything systematic that you can make anything out of it in any variation. So they thought like how to differentiate themselves and make it easy to grow. So then they came up like, okay, with the system of tubes and studs, and then you can make them bigger, smaller, connect them, and then make a tuk-tuk out of this. So this is what we can do with our virtual Lego bricks, if we know how to. And let's imagine, for example, we have team one, which could be a team for a certain project that has only pieces, so they know how to design, they have some components, but they don't really know how to use them. And then there is a team that has instructions on how to use it, so it's clear for them where to go with it, and the final product is inside. So that which one will win? And obviously it wins the team one, which has the pieces and the instructions. And then this allows them to move forward because they have system how to get where they are and where they're going with the pieces they have. And yeah, but now coming to digital design, like how can we use that? Well, for example, the simple fact is we're designing many variations, and then we are thinking like, oh, but which error message then I should use for this case? Or maybe like which button for what flow? Those are questions that we ask our teammates. We don't know like which one, how is it should look, where is the main grounding point of the final version. So we don't know that. And also like on which side it should be, right, left. Yeah, it's confusing. It's again, it's confusing. So finally, what is it? It's a design system is a single source of truth that centralizes a company's best practices, uniting teams to learn, build, and grow products at scale. Also, simplifying it, you can. Oh. Yeah, because it was flicking. You can, based on that, you know what you're building, and you have written down instructions on each piece, which we're gonna explain a bit more. So, for example, what are good practices? How to know what's good? Well, above all, we look at successful design system already exists, like a Bayesian design system, where they have all written down, like how they do it, why they do it, foundations and content, and also Shopify. So those are a few. We're gonna dive deeper into like bigger ones also. But what is it composed of? Like, okay, so design system is really useful. We know what we're supposed to do, but what is it really? So it has a mission and values, just like our company we work for. And this is exactly the custom made for the company we're gonna be making. So it aligns. And then design foundations, components, of course. So the mission and values, well, it could be simple. It's make it easier for all members to do their best work. Because otherwise, we are lacking because we don't know how to do things, or we're doing it right. So that's crucial. And then foundations are the elements that build our overall system, which is typography, all our grid, all the little Lego pieces we are building our models from. And then of course the like components, which are the UI elements, which is images, button, forms, etc. All divided nicely so you see where they belong and how to use them. And above all, design system is a communication toolkit. So that's the takeaway, I think, overall from today. It's a tool to communicate. So it's not something to limit us. It doesn't need to be intricate when we're going, but it's good to have a file that you put your components. You say like, okay, which are final, which are not final, and which are for what set on purpose, so we know where we're going. And I think this is the crucial, just communication. And this, with that only, you can already create great products. But let's now unpack what makes it so. Now we're going with color, the very basis of our work. What is color system? Well, color system is all the colors we use across our design. And it could be in variety of hues, shades, and here we have example from Google Material Design System, which is really also worth checking out. They're beautifully written down like how and why to use certain things. So let us learn how to have in our designs. Okay, and that's the first exercise. So now focus, people. So it's first exercise. Each of you have their own board, which you can now give a name. It's right beneath the slides. I mean, also the link was shared on the meeting in the Teams. And yeah, and then you can put your name there. And yeah, and come to the first exercise. Of course, on your board you can do anything you want, and also tweak some things apart from exercises if you think like, oh wow, I want to practice that he's talking about right now. You can do that too. So feel free to do whatever. But when we say exercise, look for them on your board. And yeah. Yeah, it's on the
events?
Yes, it's in the events call for how to build design systems. And there's this link to the file. Yeah, and it should be editable by everybody. So, okay. Oh yeah, and okay. So I think if all of you did all of you found your board and
Yep.
exercise? Okay. So now, as we can see, we have instructions, so you can also read them, do them. But I'm also gonna go through them. So first of all, setting up the basic color style. We all know more or less how to do it, but let's do it again. So we first go and we make a rectangle, could be circle, for whatever reason. And then we have this color panel, which allows us to choose any color that is available for us in color spectrum. And also we can change the system, how it's the language it's inputted. So it could be HSL, could be HSB. Also, to explain simply, HSB is hue, saturation, brightness, which I recommend to use for everybody because it's easy to tweak the different levels of saturation and shadows without being confused, like, oh, well, but how do I check it in hex? So for me, it's always simple. Take the hex code. If you need to tweak it, use HSB. And then if you got it, then we just, we can adjust it, of course. And then you go and here in this little 4 dots, you have your libraries. Here, of course, we are connected to the Team New Designers library, which already we have, but we can make a new one. Already this file on its own can be library, but we're gonna dive deep into that at the very end. So pushing this plus button will allow us to make a style or variable. But for now, let's not touch variables. We're gonna discuss this in another workshop because it's totally different realm. But style, so we can name the style. Naming also has its conventions. Usually you can do it, well, you can say it could be green, could be blue, sorry, if we can argue, but let's say it's green. So you can say it's green, but also based on our design system language, we can say it's 600. And it's 600 is green, and then we can also generate a few variations of the same hue. So we have like this whole hue spectrum, and you can do it with plugin.
Check 600 is just the number you picked out of.
No, this is actually the system go like from 50 to 900, and usually 500, 600 is like this middle ground of brightness and saturation. But for simplicity, just so we don't get confused, it's green, and you can say like it's like on the example one, main green. And then when you make the style, it's, it's okay, so this is probably the main green we want to use for all the branding. But then when we say it's, for example, like sub green or like for smaller elements, then the team knows like, oh, I don't use it for the buttons. I use it, for example, maybe for links. So that's the easiest way to add color swatches in our design. And we can, and also description. We can describe what it is. So you can say like only for buttons, and then leave it out. And and it can help us to know what it is. Okay, so if we know that now, we can go to how do we apply it, and there will be exercise in applying it also too. So, well, it's quite straightforward because when you have for example, I'm going to show it on this. You have different selected colors, and let's say this one has only like one color. We can just switch it from our swatches we already have, and then yeah, then they should change. So to the main green. And usually, of course, it works a bit better when we have already one predefined swatch for black, and then change it to yeah, the different. And yeah, in this exercise, we can do that on their own. So you see, you also have the buttons with a red color. And then if you select the whole group here, you see there is this like F04949 color, but you can change it to your color, just like that. If that was too fast, let me do that again for you. So now you can just change by clicking on this. I'm blue, or any other ones. And I see there's a lot of beautiful colors you guys made. Shrek green also is self-explanatory. Yeah, and you can modify those colors too. So let's say I'm gonna touch the Shrek green, and we're gonna change it to like a little bit more darker, and it's like close to Shrek. Then we're like, oh, okay, so this is actually how Shrek should look like. So it's also easy to change. Whenever you like make a change in the swatch, it changes everywhere all at once.
So where's your swatch?
The overall the swatches live when you just unclick anything on, so you have nothing selected and click like the overall
You see
canvas.
the styles.
Yeah, I don't see the color
nice.
styles. Yeah.
Am I saving this to every file on Figma?
So if you publish this very file as library, then every other file can use this library and its colors for other files.
Yeah, but now it's just local.
Now it's local, yes, because it's unpublished. But we're gonna be publishing at the end. All right, but okay, what's the color scheme now? Let's talk about that. That we did some exercises, because you know we use all those interfaces every day, and like this one, Loom. Maybe some of us used it for recording short videos explaining how to do things, and then like how we don't even think how many different shades of purple or green there are in certain interfaces.
4.
So we can say like here is 4, but actually it's actually 8, or it could be even 9, because even the grays and the blacks have purple. So that's also, if we want to have consistency, use blacks and grays, even with a little bit of color, then the overall design connects better with what we're trying to communicate, which is also nice. Yeah, and now how do we do that, right? Like how we make the exactly numbers I said, because they're really helpful, but how do we make it so that they don't look weird and they are not oversaturated, undersaturated? Well, we have our squares here, 5 of them, and let's put like our Shrek green, for example, in the middle. So that's our basis. And then from that basis, we can make a writer call, so more white. So we added like milk to the coffee. It's making more white, or more coffee. So it's getting darker. And how we can do that more or less so that it is hierarchy, we have the box. And I usually try to imagine myself this line. Also have sometimes reference images, just so I know like how to pick the color. So usually you just go like from really the nearly white, and then you like go down and down and down and down. But that's one option. You can also cheat your way out of this and use the hue generator. I like to use certain hue generator, tint and shade generator. So for example, well, let's come back. Oops, spoiler. Let's go and take our Shrek green. Yeah, so that's the first one. Whenever you can, I usually like to do that. So I take my main color, main brand color, and then I make tint and shades, and boom. We don't have to think. We don't have to like have some line to follow, and then we have exactly what we want. We have the basis is the 0. So this is our Shrek green, the main main base. And then from this up, we have the darkest and then the brightest. And then from that, you can just take those colors, copy them, and put them in our...
And how many tints would you advise in your application?
I would advise, just as we have here, usually following the tailwind system, you're going for like 50 to 900. So that's about 10
maximum.
10 max, 9, 10. So you have variety for text color, so more blackish color, or very bright if you want like a nice shadow or border.
Yeah.
And follow that. But how do you define, like, when, because here the generated ones is a little bit more than 10. We have, I think, yeah, 9 up and dark and then 9 bright. So what I do is, let's say this is our 500. So this is 500, base is 500. Then we go darker is 600, 700, 800, and 900. So every 10% jumping. And then in the bright one is again 500, and then we go to 400, 300, 200, and 100. And then 50 if you want like close to white. And of course we have black and white as base also, but we don't include them. So like every step, because if you include like every little one, it doesn't make sense. It's not big difference and it's too much.
Cool.
So yeah, that's how we can set those. And of course you can do that now because it's exercise. So I'm gonna paste you this link in the chat, and you can and you can make the exactly what I said, the tints and shades of the colors you like, and you make.
Do you fill them or make them also library colors?
Make them also library colors, so you can make them exactly as swatches too. But now you can make them.
Base color is what number?
So base color is 500.
500.
Yes. So that's your main color, and from that use the plugin to expand out. Yeah, I'm gonna also make this. Oh yeah, I see someone did a really nice job with the Blade Runner 2047 red. So yeah, that's exactly how you can do that. Also, the person grouped it nicely, so I'm gonna also show how to do that. So it's together, it's not all over the place. And also you can of course structure that. And yeah, I did mine with the Shrek Green, which is 500, 600, 700. They're a bit in between, but I think good example is the Blade Runner. You go from the 100, then up to the 900. Of course, it's a bit messy because it will look like that if you don't start like from the lowest to highest, but the overall memo is like that with the plugin. So really useful stuff. So yeah, now that we have that out of the way, yeah, so here we have our color scaling that we talked right now, that the most common is exactly that. 500 is usually your color, and then you expand left or right. So there are different use cases depending on the systems, but the easiest one for product design is the middle point is 500, yeah, and then you go up to 1,000 and up to 0. So. Yeah, so that's our summary of color system, and it's really helpful because we all know then like which we can say, oh, this is the gray 600, this is the gray 400, and this is red 400. For development, it's also very useful because then we know what color we need. We don't say like this Shrek green, but we don't know like exactly what number is it. So technically speaking, then it's a bit too vague, but if it's Shrek 400, it's amazing. So yeah, so that's the color system of our design system. And now it's typography, very big thing.
Sorry, let me just quickly check. You said you will show how to do it.
Oh yeah, I think, I don't know if I don't have it later. Yeah, I have it later.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, but I can show you also now. So small intermission right there. So if you already have them there, and we made them, we can command select our colors, and then right click, I add new folder, and then call it like, yeah, Shrek, and yeah, and that's it. And then it's together, and I think we also, yeah, and we also can structure this easily.
We do it immediately.
Yeah, really good job.
Cool, eh?
Yeah, purple, nice, beautiful purple. All right, yeah, nice. So that's and yeah, when you have Windows, you press Control, of course. Okay. All right, so let's go to typography. So typography, also huge basis of what we do every day. But how can we do that so it flows? We don't like, should it be 40? Should it be 24? Which heading should be what size and for what use case? And then it's different fonts, and yeah, it's a lot. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we have to understand the font family. So usually it's nice to choose a font family that is full. So I can just our Poppins. We have from the lightest to the most thick. Actually, I'm gonna select, for example, the heading here. We have Poppins, and it's from thin to black, and now also it shows live on the feed, so it's also easy for you to know like how it will look properly. But of course, this is not how the design system works, because we need specific styles. So yes, so there are, generally speaking, sans serif is better for our products, but do use also serif and display. But of course, carefully, for example, for certain applications when you want to show, emphasize certain design language, etc. This is really useful. And font share also. Check out this website, great fonts, super high quality, all for free and commercial usage, so you can use on your commercial products as well. And yeah. So the line height. How do we know what kind of line height should we use? Because the default one is not bad, but usually the font can be a bit too squished, and for longer paragraphs, this may get hard to read, fatiguing. So a good practice is usually just setting between 125 to 150% of the auto settings. Then it's just a little bit more space vertically. And of course, you can also set the letter spacing, which also helps when you have bigger, thicker fonts. It's actually advisable to make the text a little bit more far apart. So it could be 3%, but when we have very dense ones, then when we have they're like very dense, then we minus it. So this is, I know where they're like monospaced, then getting this closer with minus is also a possibility. They're not huge differences. This is not really what you need to know for design systems, but it's definitely a nice practice to sometimes eyeball it, because actually in this case it's just eyeballing how you feel when you look at it, and if the user will also feel the same. Okay, so now let's make a style text. So yeah, let's make it. Just based on what we did. For now, again, without the system for the naming. Okay, so let's create a text with T, then a body paragraph, and yeah, we can adjust the sizing. If we make a body paragraph, usually it's nice to just make it regular 16. That's usual size we will use for web, and yeah, and then depending on the font, we would like to make the characters a little bit closer or a little bit further away. And a good practice is 125 for the height difference. And now we can add it again with the same dots that we're gonna have always with us, and the same plus for creating a style, just like with colors. And then we can name it again. Yeah, the paragraph text, body text, description, like yeah, it's for the main content. And then yeah, we have style. Oh, and also I see that someone is already doing that with the Blade Runner text or the color text. You don't have to group it later to have already it subdivided with the title, because for example, if I'm gonna break it and make again a style out of it, so I'm gonna call it, for example, let's say Albert Hein, and then we put the dash paragraph text and then enter. Then we're gonna have the subtitle Albert Hein and then paragraph text. So then it's also from the get-go it's structured as folder and a subgroup, which is really useful. And the same practice goes for components as well. You can name them like that, so it's easier for when you trying to group them. You can again do it after. Good practice is before, but then you add the slash, and you can have as many slashes as you want. So you can have Albert Hein text / paragraph, and then so it different varieties and sub levels, as many as you want. Of course, don't go too crazy. You can use as well. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Nice. Yeah. Okay, I think we all done with this. So let's move on to the scale because we now know how to make and group fonts and name them more or less, but we don't know what sizing we should use and how. So of course we know at least that 16 is the baseline regular font for web, but then we don't know like how it should grow and go down and up. So you could use tools like this typescale.com website. You can go there now, and yeah, and you can choose the scaling. But it's very useful when you're a graphic designer, not super useful when you're a web designer, because you have very close numbers. But for example, when you choose major thirds, 48.83 pixels is not what we use really, or 39.6. And also they don't follow really the rules. There are various numbers. So usually what you would like to do is you add 8 to it. So then you start, for example, like the smallest you can have 8, then 16, then 24, then 32, then 40, 48, and then in between-ish, so or fours. Could be 20, 24, 28, 32. And actually I usually just go by that. I want a little bit bigger one, 20. A little bit bigger one, 24. And then I just scale them, name them, because that's usually how the products work. The font sizes are the same because they are defined by the WCAG. And it's also easy because you don't have to do the math. You don't have to multiply by 1.25. You just add 4, and it's growing, and also can divide, so you can also scale it down. So you know, like, so visually this is gonna scale up and up as it should, beautifully. And yes, the naming system, right? So here, for example, you also can already see the 4-pixel system, even though it's not by every 4, because it doesn't need to be, because that's too much. But then we know, like, okay, caption is 12, then button is 14, body is 16, and then we have jump by 8, exactly as I said with the rule, and then we have jump by another. In this case, it's 10. But usually we jump just by 8 to 32. I wouldn't use 34. And then you have again. So it's easily dividable by 2. I think the rule of thumb is have your type dividable by 2. Then it's easy just to scale it up and down. Because when you have 31, 49, it's hard to divide it. It's causing very weird issues. And yeah, the simple naming, as we all know, just coming up from coding from HTML, always use like H1, H2, H3, so you can just have abbreviation H1, not really heading, but you can use that, it's okay.
Is there a website for this?
This one, no, I made it here. There's no website for that.
There should be a website.
Yeah, there should be, right? Yeah, but I think there is for sure. So there's gazillion tools that can help you with that as well. But having just a rule of thumb that you just know the basics, there's at least 3 headings, you need at least 1 subtitle, body, and a small text.
Yep.
And that's all you can always go with. And have that. And yeah, let's make some namings. Let's make different sizes. It's exercise. Yeah. So yeah, let's do that. So again, depending on the context, heading could be 96, but it could be also 72 pixels, and it's just as fine when it comes to the system. Yeah, and you can as well do it just as the person that did the Blade Runner. You can also do the clothing sizing, which is also a possibility. It works pretty well with variables, but that's why I'm gonna touch more on variables. But yes, you can also name the sizes like extra small, yeah, small, medium, large, XL, 2XL, etc. Though it could be quite confusing later on. So, but yeah, it's as well option. But just for the easiness, you can of course use the typical HTML sizing as presented, the H2, H2, subtitle base, caption, tiny text, etc. As long as it follows the premise the design system should, that it's easy communicatable and we all know what it serves. Because we don't do it for aesthetics, we do it just so everybody's on the same page. It's easy to understand. And yeah, and the font system structure, just someone did, it could be Excel size. So even by making the certain sizing, you can define the language, the type, the size, the exact number, and the weight, which is very extreme example, but even just having the heading, and we can specify maybe that's bold or not, is already a good way to do it. Because language is for very huge design systems when our product is in a variety of languages, and then we have to really match intricacies. Which on that side note, actually bonus information not really useful for our workflow. There's especially the certain CJK typesetting that you need to keep in mind when you design for Chinese, Korean, Japanese. And it's totally different from our Latin typography because usually we want to align the proportions of the typography to the baseline. But in this case, you have to align to more to the center of the character, the center of gravity. So the flow is more like block rather than our typographic. And
Always monospace?
yeah, I think it is not always monospace, but you can guys learn more on this if you're really curious how does it work on the Google fonts for types in China, Korea, or on this blog post as well. It's really nice. Additional information you can flex on your interview. But yeah, but now you know. All right. And yeah, that was the section for typography. So we learned how to establish system, how to scale it, what's the sizing, and yeah, the bonus information for CJK fonts. And now, if we have colors, if we have fonts, how do we manage the system? Well, we can make the folders, which we already had the exercise with, so we're not gonna do that now. But just as we did before, you can just select them, Control Command, name the swatches, or the same do the fonts. If you didn't use the slash, and also have subfolders in the folders, so then it's not messy river. It's just nice. So yeah. Yeah, and here you have the exercise for selecting objects from color list. So if we want to change certain color and well, we're not sure where is it applied or how much of it is, we can always go to this cross and well, basically shoot this color, and well, then it selects. For example, in this very cover, we have 14 whites, which is, I think it's not really visible here, but when you did press it, it showed the number and then it's selected and you can change it to something else or change it to already swatch as well. So that's a small trick for easy way finding if you want to change all, but it's so huge. That's easy way, always there for you. Okay. And yeah, more styling of text. So of course we can expand to bigger even elements like having text styles for like light and dark mode, which I think it's not really that common practice. It's more with color that yes, you will have different hues and brightnesses for dark mode, because then, yeah, it's the contrast ratio. And the FX styles as well as shadows, and yeah, another thing is, and also the grid system as well. You have big, small, but the grid system we'll talk about in the next workshop. But you can make styles for spacing. You can't make really for shadows, definitely not for opacity or icons, because for icons you do the components. But for spacing you do variables nowadays. But again, this is a bit, and also roundness of the corners. This is variables. This is another level, which we can talk in the next workshop, so we can build up our knowledge we got today. And of course, feel free to go to Apple Human Interface Guidelines, to Google Material website, read up, learn how they do it, how they manage it, such huge companies, so that it functions, it just works. And especially Google has very straightforward explanation, so we can understand for smaller products. Apple has intricate way of explaining, but very cool, useful resource to know, like, how do they measure the sizing. So if any questions about color still, sizing, and etc., those are the ways to go to learn up on this too. And yeah, and the plugin, we also have plugins that can do this for us. So we could, for example, use Styler, which generates styles based on the things we have. So we made a few colors, we made a few swatches, and then we can generate with this plugin the styles automatically, so you don't have to do it by hand. And it also can divide that for different styles. So yeah, we can check it out. So especially always never forget that the Figma plugins is also a way to go when it comes to many things. When you're lacking on something and you're not sure how to do it, you can just do it very easily with them. So for example, I can select these colors. You can change to the others, so we don't have all the same. And also the shortcut for overall bar for plugins is a command / or control /, and then you can just type the styler if you have it. If you don't have it, then you can go to the link which is on this slide and add it, and then it can do various things for you, like detach the styles. Boom, it's detached. Heartbroken. But also you can generate new ones, apply to the styles you already have. So it's useful way to utilize additional tools, so you can quicken up your workflow. But in most cases, you can just do it by hand. If it's supposed to complicate your workflow, then you don't use it. Just use it always when you feel like it, you want to test it out, or it helps you with your work. So yeah. And of course, there are plugins as well for generation of shades, but I believe the one that I showed you is a bit more clear, because they are using a bit different structure for color shading. It's more from Adobe guidelines. And there's also for type scaling, but as well, it could be a bit confusing with the same 1.25 scale. But do check them out. Here I have the links, so you can play around with them after the workshop. In your next project, maybe they're gonna really fasten it up. I mean, definitely the huge power of plugins that generate color shades here, they already can make the styles for you inside of Figma rather than placing them by hand. But again, there is always power in plugins. And yeah, this is the summary of design system management. And yeah, we learned how to manage the design system, the resources above all that we can even further learn and accelerate with plugins. And the last part we have, which is publishing design system, because finally we made it all. We made all of those small things, colors, grids, whatever. But how do we share it with the world and our colleagues on our projects so it's actually useful and not just for fun? Well, what you do, which is this exercise, it should be blue, but it's exercise. You can go. I'm just gonna show it. Don't do it because we can't all publish this file. But if you do have, you go here, you have this like booklet. Always when you have assets selected, so book in any file you actually do at least one style, you're gonna have this book, and then you can publish this, and it's gonna ask you like, oh, what do you want to publish? And then I say like, of course, everything I want to publish. And then it's gonna publish everything, and also can show you in this way as well. And yeah, and then the differentiator of this is really nice because nowadays it shows the black icon with its design system. So apart that you're gonna say like, oh, this is design system in the cover, it also black means it's design system file. It's for that reason only, and the blue one is for anything else, and of course the purple one is for Figma. So that's nice. And updating is also really nice and should be used with caution, of course, because when we change something in design system, we publish it and it's not final or it's gonna break final things. Don't do it. But you have always version history to try on back in time, as well as you have version history for publishing. So you can see like, oh, this dude broke our design system. So, and also you can add description actually, like, oh, I changed that. So it's not like that, or like, what the hell did you change and like why? So yeah, communication, really, always. So yeah. And using other libraries in other, right? So you have those tick boxes. And again, when you go to the booklet, you can see some other things you can add for new designers and the updates. But usually here, when this is, there are libraries available in this file. So yeah, it's for the other file that you made, like it's additional, so normal one, not design system. You can tick the button and then like all the components and everything is connected. So you can just drag and drop all the elements. And unused design systems. So when you're in your design, you've probably seen it at least a few times that there are some design systems that are unticked, or there's like official one that's you can tick it. Yeah, and it's and then you can just like that see it. And when it's nicely categorized, it's easy to understand what it's for. So that's how you can use the library, Figma. And this one is using in the design drafts. So when you have some update, you usually have this beautiful review, and then you can review it. And you can actually, usually you don't even actually just click update all, but you can click the arrow. Nowadays there's no arrow, but actually when you click right beside the update, you can see what's changing before you update. So apart that they will tell you like I updated this and that, but you don't trust it if it looks good. You can have side-by-side view of your page, for example, and then you see like, oh, this button changed, and this is how it was before. So I like it or I don't like it. Maybe it's questionable. Or you can overlay to see like I don't see the difference. Maybe actually I need to have like the microscope. So yeah, and that's how you can review the update before you press update on. Usually just do that if not communicated before, so there's no problems, because always going back is harder than forward. So yeah. And unpublishing, if you just don't want this at all, let's do that with ours. then you just click here, and exactly here we have the view of this design system, the fonts that you created and the colors we created. Beautiful, but we don't want that right now. So you can unpublish that, and it's okay because it's the components and the styles that you had used on the other pages, they will not disappear, but the modifications you're gonna make from now on in this file, they're not gonna show up to be updated in the others. So even if you disconnect and reconnect, it's not gonna be good. So sometimes removing this is good, but don't you worry, it's not gonna break completely styles that were in the original file. And I think with that, it's a wrap. So yeah, in this unit, and above all, we learned how to publish and publish, use system in our design system, and also, yeah, change it all. And yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and here is the type form. So go again, feedback. You can vote for the next workshop, be it variables, so another level to design systems, or be it finally for developers section, dev mode. So yeah, check it out. I'm gonna also post it on this Teams channel, so you don't feel double lost.